not shouting too much into my mic.
Hi,
Place we
everyone.
get the sights, the place we get the sight, sound, smells, taste of my particular writer's life, where you get the fucking truth about my writer's life. Anyway, where you don't get teeth. I'm working on that. I'm working on it. I go next week for my next appointment. Subscribe if you haven't already. Punch the like button, and
I like it.
tap
So far, it's
the
pretty
bell
good.
for notifications. Yeah.
It's a great improvement from some podcasts that I've seen that other people do.
Right.
You know, it just ends in disaster. Whereas I
Like
think
us last week.
Vin has he's lined up his bowling pins basically. You know.
Right. I did my work. I did my due diligence. Go to the store, www.vinzandri.com, vinzandri.com, vinzandri.com for all your thriller needs, and pick up my new writer's life.
Say for all your porno needs.
Right. For all your physical, for all your, well, whatever. Pick up the new writer's life lecture series directly off my website. It's $20 less, or you can go to Amazon and get it for $147. It's up to you, but go direct and save. Right, Ham? Go direct and save.
Go direct and save, yes.
So I have a guest today who's a very special guest. I've been trying to get him on for years. My people have been talking to his people have been talking to my people. It's been a sort of a clusterfuck. And at first I was apprehensive, but I was going to have Tulsi Gabbard today, but she canceled. So John Hemingway.
Well, I really think you made the wrong choice, because Tulsi Gabbard, she's not bad.
Yeah.
Even now that she's married, to that.
Right. You heard? No. Well, you heard about her new book, right?
No.
It's called Vince, Andrea, and Me: A Love Story.
Does her husband know about this?
No, it's totally on the down low.
Down low. Okay. Down on
Wayne,
low.
Wayne, don't be calling me a toothless wonder in public. That's my editor, one of my editors.
Toothless wonder.
John Hemingway, author of Bacchanalia, the new Murder on the Florida Straits.
Ta-da! Here it is.
Which is killer. Got a killer premise. No pun intended. There it is.
Sort of, Grand Theft Auto,
Right.
the kind of thing.
Destined to be a. Thanks, Wayne. Yep.
A wokester hit. They're going to love it. It's going to make them all forget about wokesters and say, "We want violence." Okay?
Right. So John, who happens to be the grandson of Papa Hemingway, Ernest Hemingway.
Yeah, this is the first one I wrote, which was a memoir of my dad. And little boy there was my father when he was about 10.
There's Giggy.
And that's Ernest, and they're in Idaho. They were duck hunting, I believe.
Yeah, that's in Idaho. Yep. Kappa took that picture.
Yeah, they still have they don't have the original bridge there. That was
right.
wood, but I went there. Oh my God, when was it, in the 90s? When I was on the road doing a documentary, which was going to be about that book. But
right.
That book came out about 3 years after that, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorite photographs of your grandfather and your father.
A good one.
Your father was a hell of a shot, huh?
Oh God, yeah, he was really good. When he was a kid in Cuba, he took part in a national skeet shooting contest. And I believe he was he was the only kid, basically. And he tied for first place with another shooter who was a man. Okay. And these were some of the best shots, in all of Cuba. And Ernest was just ecstatic, because it meant that he had passed on something from his father to his son. Okay.
Right.
And yeah, he was going on and talking to everyone about it. And he really was good. Yeah.
How old was he when he was in the contest? About 12?
Something like that. Yeah.
That's just incredible. So he was just a natural.
Oh yeah. He just killer instinct. He really had a good eye. And he taught me all that sort of stuff, and I went out with him
And
sometimes.
Papa wanted him to be a writer.
Well, that's what he wrote in his book. Like, here, I'm going to sit you down here at this table. Here's a blank sheet of paper, and you just write whatever you want, And I think he copied a short story from Chekhov, yeah. And he gave it to Ernest, and Ernest didn't recognize that particular one. Okay, and he said he didn't have the heart to tell, my grandfather, his father, that he had not written that story.
Right, right. That's hilarious. Yeah. I read Strange Tribe like on a Christmas Day. I got it for Christmas Day, like, I don't know, 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
More than that now.
Yeah, it came out in 2007, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was the first book about Papa that that had so much original material in it that I did not realize. And,
well, yeah, basically there was I managed to recreate this dialectic between my father and my grandfather in the 1950s from a trove of letters that pretty much no one had seen except for my younger brother. And I remember in 2006, I was in Malaga for a Hemingway Society conference, and they put me on a panel with about 4 or 5 other scholars, and they were talking about the relationship between my dad and Ernest, and how it wasn't very good, and there was a period for like 10 years when they didn't speak to each other. And this is what all of them were saying. And finally, when it came down to me, I said, well, I hate to surprise you guys, but in fact, they were talking to each other all throughout that period. Everyone was like, what? I said,
yeah, that's what was shocking to me, because I had bought into the academic theory that after Papa laid into him about after your grandmother dying, that he was like, he cut it all off. That was it. And he said, I think even Giggy said in one of the biographies, like, I never talked to him again.
That's not true. I mean, because he actually would even speak to him on the phone, but for the most part, it was letters, because they were old school, and like, you want to communicate, you want to get something, you got to write it.
Right. And I think your grandfather was like, don't send me letters that are just like hastily written with all sorts of misspellings and stuff like this. I want like the real deal,
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, though, that Ernest was constantly making spelling mistakes.
Oh yeah, he himself, sure. It just reminds me of, like, speaking of, one of my editors being online here watching this. He'll go over a novel that, say he'll pick up one of my novels from like 20 years ago that maybe Delacour had published or something like that. And he'll be like, there's like 30 spelling mistakes in this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be like, they weren't there when I had it wrote, so like when they go,
it's because the editors come in, and they fuck it up 12 or 1 a.m, and they say, okay, now we're gonna fuck over his book, okay?
Yeah, that's what they do.
Spelling things,
Yeah, they're evil.
Evil.
I swear to God. I think they were like, when I got the rights of As Catch Can back, which is a shitty name. I didn't name it that. The editor did, because Harlan Coben had a book called The Innocent, I guess, or Baldacci did. Everybody's got a book called The Innocent, right? So anyway, when I got the rights back and I called it The Innocent, and another publisher picked it up, it was re-edited, and the editor was like, copy editor. Because I didn't want a developmental editor again, but the copy editor was like, who the hell edited this? There's like sentences missing. And there's like words
for evil editors, you see.
It was. They're all evil.
They're like gnomes, okay? They go in there.
Yeah.
They're little fairies. No, you can't say that anymore.
Oh my God. So like, Hem, you're a freelance writer, movie maker, novelist. This man has run with the Bulls 17 times, which has got to out Hemingway.
Well, okay, that helped me write Bacchanalia, okay, a Pamplona story.
Plus, you're all like shit faced when you're doing this, when you're running in the morning.
No. You can't be drunk, okay? Because the police, okay, they go through it, okay. And
Oh,
if you're,
right.
you know, how would you say borracho? Okay, they say afuera, get out,
Oh, all right.
and they will just put you over the other side of the barrier there,
Okay.
because a lot of them really are, what I call fiesta zombies. Okay, at that point, because
Right.
the whole fiesta starts on the 6th of July at 12 noon. Now, most people, who become zombies are drinking from 12 noon all the way through the night until the morning, and they're kind of catatonic, and then they say, "Oh, I'm gonna go run," like this, and
Yeah.
they slept literally in a gutter,
Right. Right.
That's common, yeah.
I could have handled that maybe at in my younger days, but I think I have missed the boat on that one.
Oh, the funny thing is to see these 20-year-olds, I can beat anything, and
Right.
then they get together maybe on the 4th day, and one of them says, "We got to get out of here before we die." Sort of stuff.
Yeah.
If you think you're stronger than the fiesta, you're wrong.
Yeah, no, the fiesta will beat you every time. So you are married to Christina.
Yeah,
Christina.
she's in the picture right there. If you look,
Behind you.
yeah, behind me.
Yeah, she's very beautiful. How did you manage that?
I met her actually at the fiesta.
Right.
Okay. At the time, I was dating a Spanish lawyer from Madrid.
What was his name?
Her name?
It's a joke.
Her name was Aurelia. Okay.
Aurelia.
And she was nice and everything, but I mean, she liked all men. All men.
Oh, well,
Okay.
there you go.
And at first I was kind of like, but then afterwards I just laughed, and I even remember once when we were in Italy and everything, this friend of mine, comes up to me and he says, "John, give me the number. Give me your number, okay? You know what I'm talking about, okay?" And so I did give him the number.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious.
It didn't last long,
So switched up. That's good.
Yeah.
We have some questions for you, believe it or not. We'll wait. Thanks, Shadow Red.
Okay.
We'll wait to the end, and then we'll
Okay.
if anybody wants to pose some questions. Christina was born in Russia, or was she born in Ukraine?
Her father was from the Ukraine. She was born in Leningrad when it was still Leningrad, 1989. Okay. And then the next year, I believe it switched over to St. Petersburg,
Right.
which it had been before.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a picture of the two of us, and you're looking at the River Neva. Okay.
Yeah, it's great.
It's one of my favorite shots. I mean, it's just amazing. That came out just perfect.
Right.
I was blown away by Russia. Russia, I just love. It's people are great. The architecture is, unbelievably beautiful. Russian restaurants have nothing, to feel embarrassed about, even when you compare them, say, to Italian or French restaurants. It's just amazing, and everything is run by young people there, in their 20s and 30s. There's just so much energy and vitality there in that country.
Right. I hit up some decent restaurants in Moscow, but really I was just I was there for work and whatever. But I hadn't gotten out into the countryside other than it wasn't until I went to Ukraine that I got out into the countryside.
Yeah. Well, Ukraine was a beautiful country. Now they pretty much destroyed a good part of it.
Yeah, the western part is pretty shot, but it's funny because the people who do my bear media covers for my independent books,
sure,
they're based out of Kiev.
Really? I was wondering, who did all your covers and everything.
And they're terrific. And I'm always like, be safe.
My wife's going to tell me, I got to tell her that one, and she's going to like that because, I mean, her father was from a small town in the southwestern part of the country, closer to Odessa, a small town called Belgrade, I think it is. Yeah,
Right.
and very agricultural. And I still talk from time to time with her grandmother, who, amazingly enough, has internet. And so she'll send me some meme or something like that, and I will send her back, an emoji. And
Oh, that's good.
so every morning she's always got something for me.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks to Elon Musk, they have internet.
Was that taken away, Starlink? Or no?
He recently, the Ukrainian army wanted to deep six a whole bunch of Russian ships in the Black Sea,
Uh-huh.
and he turned off their internet.
Okay.
And so now some neocons and a bunch of Democrats want to have Elon Musk basically arrested
Yeah.
for doing that. Like it's bad enough that we're feeding him money every month to kill all these. They're up to like 500 or 600,000 casualties. Like some
Something
of them
like that.
gruesome deaths.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I mean,
bad.
it's I do not see this as a winnable war. I see this as over once we pull the financial plug.
Well, maybe they are having Zelensky go to Washington so they can tell him, give him his pink slip.
Yeah, something's got to happen.
Something like that.
And because it's over. It's just not shilling for Putin by any means, but when it's over, it's over. Like why keep prolonging the?
Oh yeah, no, it's a whole generation has been wiped out there. We're talking about 500,000 young men.
Yeah, the whole generation. I mean, they've lost. The Ukrainians have lost more men, suffered more deaths than the U.S. suffered during all of World War II, and that's just a relatively small nation. And that's how bad it is. People just don't have any idea. You drive around here and you see people with Ukraine flags on their lawn. They can't even pick Ukraine out on a map.
Yeah.
And,
it's a huge country. I mean, it really is big.
Yeah. But I mean, wasn't a world war. Even though I'm convinced that's what they want. But it's right now. It's like we were talking in the green room, our sort of green room. I think now it's just like a money laundering scheme.
Oh, definitely. Especially
military industrial complex.
Who was that kid who had the Bitcoin bank in the Bahamas?
Oh, Friedman.
Yeah, he was the one who was money laundering money from this Bitcoin thing, and he was getting the money, I believe, from Ukraine, and then he was just basically passing it on to the DNC.
Yep. And they were letting him go scot-free for the longest time. Now they finally had to arrest him. I'm a Bitcoin guy too. But I don't own any right now. But I'm gonna.
We should all be, I think.
Yeah. Oh, I think we should too. What do you think about this idea of going to a digital dollar so that they can keep track of your carbon footprint?
Yeah, right.
And your social points. Yeah.
My carbon
that's going to work.
And that's. I mean, I live down in Florida, and everyone knows who's the governor here.
Right.
And Mr. DeSantis says, no, we're not going to do that. So.
No, we're not. Absolutely.
Let me answer one of these questions here.
You can see it.
John,
you can see
if he knows anything about the hot zone in Cuba. What the hell? Well, it gets pretty hot there, okay, all around the island. Did his grandfather know anything about the metropolis that was found underwater on the west end? Oh, you mean Atlantis?
I think that's...
I don't think it's Atlantis. Anyway, but they're all connected in a way. I mean, it's the coral reefs in Cuba are amazing because they don't have any runoff. They don't use any phosphates or things like this, the detergents. There's no, their food is very good. If you have allergies, food allergies and everything, you go to Cuba, you will not have them. It's amazing.
Right. That's the way I feel like when I'm in Europe. over here, like, Wayne, am I still getting an echo? Because I think I was just talking too close to the mic.
An oceanographer from Canada found that underwater metropolis. Well, considering the way Canada is right now, I think everything is a bit sort of out of kilter. Okay, we were in the really nasty sort of lockdown and everything, so I think we're all sort of suffering from stress. I was up there for the whole thing, and then I escaped from Canada over the border here to freedom. And I'm no longer there. But yeah, it could have been a Canadian oceanographer who had brought down, Canadian weed, and they were probably having an amazing party out there on the water. It was years ago. He says it was years ago. Okay. They didn't have that back then. Well, they had Canadian whiskey probably. So,
Yeah. Trudeau was Fidel's son.
Yeah.
They look so much alike.
They do. I saw, I think it was one of Fidel's sons at the Hemingway Marina in Havana. Tall, heavy built, just like Fidel is, just like pretty much Trudeau is. Okay, but if you look at, Pierre Trudeau, not heavy built at all, very sort of slim.
Yeah.
Facial features are altogether different. Anyway.
Yeah, Pierre Trudeau's not his real father.
So, what else do you want to know, Vin? Seeing as this is the first time we have spoken on air.
It has. I'd be remiss if I don't speak about Gigi being way ahead of his time.
Yeah.
And you speak about this so eloquently, or write about it so eloquently in your book Strange Tribe again, about Gigi being trans.
Yeah. This is my dad, little 10-year-old there, sitting next to my grandfather, Ernest. And
the most macho man in the world at the time.
Yeah, pretty much. He was the macho icon. And, it was something that I didn't really sort of want to touch for the most part when I was growing up, because I thought, all right, everyone in the family kind of knew what my dad was all about, the cross-dressing and everything. And I didn't want to make any connection to Ernest because I thought, Jesus, grandfather, son, grandson, am I going to start wearing, collants and stuff like that and everything?
Yeah.
And yet it was something that I had to get into, not the collants, but this whole story. I needed to understand it if I was going to go ahead as a writer. And what I found, initially I did not want to look at the kind of sort of scholarship that was coming out in the 1990s, especially late 80s, where they're questioning this myth of the alpha male Ernest Hemingway. And they're doing this through his letters, through the short stories especially. And at the time, I didn't want to sort of look at these books, but then I finally sort of started reading them, and I thought, yeah, this answers a lot of my questions about my dad, why he is the way he was. There was this quote, and this was at, I believe, the beginning of Islands in the Stream. Yes, that's what it was. And they took this bit out. And it said, the smallest boy, that was my father, I guess, in the story, was fair and was built like a pocket battleship. He was a copy of Thomas Hudson, the protagonist, so that would be Ernest, physically reduced in scale and widened and shortened. His skin freckled when it tanned, and he had a humorous face and was born being very old. He was a devil, too, and deviled both his older brothers, and he had a dark side to him that nobody except Thomas Hudson could ever understand. Neither of them thought about it, except that they recognized in each other and knew that it was bad, and the man respected it and understood the boys having it. This, as I say, was something that I found in Islands in the Stream. And I used it in my memoir because I thought, wow, that's it, you know. I remember when they were considering publishing Islands in the Stream, we had the actual manuscript on the table of my father's dining room table. It was a huge table, and it was all out there, and you could look at it, and you could see, you know, where he'd cross out things and he'd write things in the margin and stuff like that. It was amazing. I didn't find this particular passage there, but it was one of the things that began to open up my eyes to this special relationship between my father and my grandfather. And I don't think I really understood, you know, where I was going, i.e., if you thought, John, you know, that there wasn't some sort of connection to you, okay, you're wrong, okay, because you need to understand these two people, because one of them, you know, was your father and the other one was your grandfather. And it, in a sense, had nothing to do with writing. It was just a family story. I spoke for a number of years about this book, you know, giving talks to university students, and many of them would come up to me afterwards, and it wasn't the Hemingway sort of legend so much that they were interested in, but it was the fact that my father was bipolar, and my grandfather was someone who suffered from clinical depression, what he called his black ass periods.
And a great-grandfather.
Yeah, and they would come up to me afterwards, you know, and while I'm not bipolar, I am what I call a survivor, okay? You're the child, or you're the wife or the husband of someone who has these sort of problems, okay? And you've had to deal with it, you know? And I can always, you know, tell when I have before me a survivor, because we just see things in a different way. There's an instant understanding, you know, and in our outlook towards everything in life. And well, yeah, it's this is the tragedy, this book, you know, it really is. There's so many things that I don't think we have the time to go into it, but
No, we're almost there now. But
yeah,
I think what you're saying is, I know my family also has a history of, maybe this is why we get along so well, but my family also has a history of bipolar
well, there you go.
disease. And I can remember the doctor speaking to me. I don't have it.
You
I, like
dodged
you,
that
am a
bullet, I like
survivor.
to say.
But
Yeah.
right, but my father tried to kill himself when he was 15,
Oh, there you go.
and
Yeah,
they kept it under wraps for the longest time, or whatever. Now it's
that's.
public, but
I mean, that's a, you know, a common sort of situation for people who, you know, were bipolar, especially back in the day before they, you know, discovered the. Well, I wouldn't say the cure. There is no cure for this because it isn't a disease.
no,
These people have a gift
an
in a
emotional.
way. They
Mhm.
can. You know, there are times when they're mildly manic, when everything is possible for them. You know, their brains are burning both ends of the candle's wick, so to speak. You know,
Right.
lithium that was discovered, I believe, in '66 or '67. It was finally commercialized in 1970, I believe, thereabouts. And you know, that has enabled a lot of people who are bipolar to sort of live, you know, a relatively normal life,
Right.
but without getting rid of that part of themselves. I mean, people will come up to me and say, I don't want to get rid of it. Okay, I just want to be able to sort of control it, you know, so I don't go psychotic, okay, or then afterwards I go deep into clinical depression, you know, where a lot of people end up killing themselves.
Yep.
But yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's an amazing thing, you know, and yeah.
I think it went like this. My great-grandfather actually killed himself at the dining room table in front of his family with a razor, straight razor.
Whoa.
My grandfather was a survivor, but his son was afflicted. But he was brilliant. My father was brilliant, ran a huge company, was a brilliant musician, and didn't stop for anything. He just kept going until the day he died. He just dropped on his feet.
Well, you
And
certainly
my
have
son,
that kind of sort of work ethic, that you might expect someone who's related to someone who has bipolar,
Right.
because when a person's bipolar, man, they're just whoa. I mean, the energy there is incredible, when they're in the manic side of it,
Right. And my son, one of my sons, has, several emotional issues, but he's a brilliant artist.
Mm-hmm.
He never stops. Wakes up, gets right to it, to the time he goes to bed. So it's just like it weaves its nefarious way in and out of the bloodline.
Yeah, that's it. You never know. And then, of course, I don't really talk about her much, but my mother was schizophrenic. So one side of the family, I have a father who's bipolar, and the other side, my mother was schizophrenic and heard voices and
Wow.
crazy stuff like that.
Wow. You have survived. You have.
And so I'd say I probably have paid my dues so that I can write something like this.
Right. So speaking of that, Murder
Yes.
on the Florida Straits,
Mm-hmm.
where can people find you and pick this wonderful?
Well, if
tome
you're here in the Florida area, you can basically contact me on Messenger and give me your address and postage and all that sort of stuff, and
Right.
I can send you a signed copy. I'm going to have a number of signings now in North Florida. One in Gainesville coming up in November, then another one in St. Augustine. We haven't really sort of established a date for that. However, you can get it right now if you want by going to Amazon.com. You look up my name, okay, and look up either Murder on the Florida Straits or Strange Tribe. And then if you want to find the other two, okay, just go about to the spot in it where you scroll down a bit and it says about the author, and it will show you the other titles that I have. I only have 3. Right. I don't have 3,000 like Vin does.
Yeah, I know. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Working on 3,000.
So yeah, we're selling them for. We're selling a paperback and Kindle for Murder on the Florida Straits, and also for Bacchanalia, which is about the Fiesta di San Fermin, running with the bulls, all that sort of stuff. And you can get both of those, paperback and Kindle, for Strange Tribe. And there are, I believe, hard copies out there. They're more or less collector's item right now. And but that isn't through me. Those are through other people who advertise it there.
All right. Sounds good. And of course, just Google John Hemingway, and you'll also be directed towards all his books, which I'm sure are on Goodreads and all that sort of stuff like that. Thank you for coming. We finally got it right. Thank you guys for everybody chiming in. Shadowwriter, thank you. Wayne, thank you, and whoever else. Certainly, this will be. You can catch the slightly edited version that will be up on the Writer's Life. I think this is episode 807, if I'm not mistaken. Hem, thanks so much. Everybody else, I hope to catch you guys not tomorrow, unless there's a Black Swan event, but hopefully on Sunday.
Okay.
And
thank you, Vin,
ciao.
for inviting me,
You're welcome.
and it's been a pleasure.
All right, brother. I will talk to you soon.